Do you feel buried under a mountain of debt and looking for a way to get out from under it? Are you finding yourself in a place where you're in debt, but you're unsure how to work your way out and you need better for yourself? Well, we're going to have a look at exploring the different ways of clearing off debt and how you can find one of these strategies beneficial for you. Welcome back to Ira Living. In this video, we're going to be looking at some of the best ways for clearing off debt and doing so quickly. There are many ideas and suggestions or strategies out there for clearing off debt. However, clearing off debt technique is going to boil down to what works best for you and your current situation. And so we're going to look at a series of ways in which you can clear off debt for you to see which one would best work for you. Now, we're going to look in total at 4 different strategies. 3 of those strategies involve you tackling debt one at a time so that you can find a way of clearing them off. Now, the first one we're going to be looking at is referred to as the snowball method. Now, the snowball method is where you start with your debt and you work from the one that is smallest and you build your way up. Now, this smaller amount can be that you consider the smallest amount of money that you owe. It could be that you consider the shortest time period of debt that you have, or it could be that you consider the smallest interest rate that you have. So it's up to you to decide which one that is. What happens when people start to pay off their smallest portion of debt and try to get through that quicker? So whether you try to finish it before the time period that you were given, or you try to pay more so you can pay down the amount quicker, what it does is it gives you an incentive to see that you're succeeding as you're quickly clearing those debt out of the way. And then what that does is it gives you the momentum to keep going and keep tackling greater debt so that you can clear off your debt in its entirety. If the added sign of progress helps to incentivize you, then this would be an approach for you to take, because you would see your accomplishments and it would motivate you to continue on that pathway. Now, the next method, method number 2, is referred to as the bulldozing method or the avalanche method. Now, what this is that you start with the largest quantity of debt or the longest time period or the one with the highest interest rate. Now, what that does is if the interest rate is high, then you know that you're going to be paying a considerable amount back to the person that you owe the debt to. Equally, if you're paying it over a long period of time, the longer the period of time that you're going to be paying, the interest rates, whether it's low or not, the amount of money you repay is going to be considerably high. If that is also a large portion of debt, it's also going to mean that there's a lot of money owing and it's going to take you a long time, especially if it has a high interest rate. It's going to cost you exponentially just to keep that debt going. So it would be beneficial to start to see how you can chip away at it and clear it off in chunks so that you can reduce the amount of money that you owe in its totality. Now, it's up to you to decide if this is the approach you want to take. Now, there are some positives and there are some cons that you also need to consider. Now, I'll start with the cons. So because this is something that you're going to be doing over a period of time and it's a large amount, although you can see that the debt total is reducing, it hasn't cleared any of your debt off in completion. And therefore, for somebody who wants that motivation to know that you finish this one, now move on to this one, this approach can become a little bit of a frustration for them. Now, the pros to this is that if you tackle it and start to clear that debt off, then a lot of the money that you would have been using to service this debt can then start to be added on to servicing some of the smaller debts. And so overall, you're working at clearing off all of your debts at a quicker pace because you've taken this approach to clear your debts off. Now, method number 3 is referred to as the tsunami method, and the tsunami method is one that's hinged with emotion. So it doesn't take into account the rate, it doesn't take into account the time period or the amount. What it takes into account is the emotional impact it has on you having that debt. So what you do is you focus on which one is going to have the most emotional impact on you. So negative or positive emotions. And then what you do is you start to tackle that one and you pay that one off first. It could be that the emotional effect it's having on you is negative because it's causing you excessive amount of stress and worry because of the amount you owe or who you owe. And so if you are able to clear that one off first, then it gives you a better peace of mind so that you can then tackle the others. It could be that you're seeking out one that's going to give you a positive emotional impact. So if it's one that you know, oh, I've managed to pay this one off, it helps to increase your confidence and make you proud of your accomplishments and therefore motivate you to keep going, then that's also one that you should seek to approach. So again, all of those three is specific to you as the individual and to your circumstance and your situation. You need to examine each of the three of these approaches and see which ones, both the pros and the cons when you've examined it, which one works best for you. And the one that works best for you is the one that you should take on to use as your strategy to clear off your debt. And just a reminder that those three were the ones that allows you to tackle the debt one by one. Now, this last strategy, strategy number 4, helps you to do a different approach to how you clear off the debt. And it's referred to as a consolidation method. Now, there are people out there who speak against consolidation, but consolidation might be what works for you. So now the consolidation is where you seek out a loan that consolidates all of your debt. This requires some discipline because you are going to need to know that now that you've opened up those avenues where you can get more access to debt from, you are not going to go and seek those debt opportunities out because your focus is to clear off your debt. What you want to do when you're consolidating your debt is to focus on two primary things: the interest rate and the duration of time to clear the debt. It requires a high level of consciousness with how you're using the monies you have and the fact that you have opened up streams where you can access additional money. Should you decide that you are going to want to do so, you have got to get to the place where you discipline yourself enough to know that your aim is to clear your debt. And although you've now paid off debt and can then get access from those areas, you're not going to go and pursue them. And if you're not in a position to do this, then I would suggest that you don't use the consolidation method. Now, in consolidating, you want to negotiate the interest rate and you want to negotiate the life of the debt. Now, when you consolidate, you want to ensure that you're going to have a comfortable repayment that is not going to put undue stress on you that makes you want to go and take money out from elsewhere. You also want to make sure that the amount of money that you're going to repay in interest is not going to be more than if you had tackled the debts one by one. It's important that you understand the impact of the consolidation. If we are not exercising a good sense of discipline and financial understanding, we can find ourselves into a worse position than when we had first started using the consolidation method. And that is probably why some people speak against that approach of clearing off your debt. However, it is still a viable approach if you believe that it's an approach that you are disciplined enough to take on to clear your debts off. Remember, financial literacy is revolutionary. It has transformed my life, and I believe it can do the same to yours.